case is going to be Zimbabwe, and that's it. I don't see that he's going to support from anyone. And it just as I agree with Dr. Najm. I mean, his time is just done, and he lost it, and I think he lost everything.
Okay, that's where we are going to have to leave it. Thanks to all our guests for joining us, Faraj Najm, Alia Brahimi and Rashid Kikia. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. Of course, we welcome your comments and suggestions. Please email them to insidestory@aljazeera.net. From the team here, goodbye.
Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter. Business Latest is brought to you by Catalum, the most efficient and environmentally friendly aluminium smelter.
All the news, all the time. aljazeera.net/English.
It's filled with surprises, yet with a touch of the familiar. It's all those things you imagined, and some you didn't. It intrigues and fascinates, and often delights. It's a story of the world, and it's one with many endings. The 5-star global network, fly to over 90 destinations on board one of the world's youngest fleets. Qatar Airways, world's 5-star airline.
As geeks take on dictators, bloggers turn dissidents, and social networks root for social justice, governments are going cyber, spying on their citizens, erecting firewalls like Iron Curtains, and closing down websites. We ask, is cyber-generated change virtual or real? Empire at this time on Al Jazeera.
Afghanistan is faced with a huge challenge.
Relations have gone really sour between us and our allies. We have inflicted considerable damage on the enemy.
The people who make international headlines.
Ultimately, the truth will out.
They want to stop this publication of information that embarrasses them.
Make time for Sir David Frost. Frost over the world. At this time on Al Jazeera.
This is Al Jazeera.
Hello and welcome to the News Hour, live from Doha. I'm Taimur Nabili. And from Al Jazeera's news centres here and in Washington and London. This is the latest on the uprising in Libya.
They have been brainwashing the kids and the young people of that area.
Muammar Gaddafi delivers another rambling address on state television, blaming the revolt on Al-Qaeda and drug-taking youth. And from Libya's west, reports of more than 100 killed in fighting in the town of Az-Zawiya. Meanwhile, more powerful figures abandoned Gaddafi, including military officers, police, and another ambassador.
I'm Jane Dutton in Washington. Libya's former Justice Minister warns Gaddafi may use chemical weapons. Would the threat of chemical attacks change Washington's response to the crisis? We'll have the latest on US reaction.
I'm Stephen Cole in London with all the top stories from Europe, including extradition approved. A UK judge says Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, should be sent to Sweden to be questioned over sex offence allegations.
Well, in a second address to the nation in as many days, Libya's Muammar Gaddafi has blamed the uprising in his country on al-Qaeda. As fighting raged on in several towns and cities, he appealed for calm in what was a telephone call to the state television. Gaddafi said Osama bin Laden has been manipulating Libyans and young protesters are being drugged and brainwashed. In other developments, a witness has told us more than 100 people have been killed and dozens more hurt in heavy fighting in the western town of Az-Zawiya, not far from Tripoli. Meanwhile, another high-profile figure and a number of others have been continuing to abandon their leader. Air Force officers, police chief, one of his cousins, and the ambassador to Jordan, just the latest, to move away from the Gaddafi regime. Well, we've had fresh reports of fighting in several areas. Pro-Gaddafi forces are said to have clashed with the anti-government protesters in the coastal town of Misurata. Witnesses say there is now a heavy security presence in that town, which is about 120 kilometers east of the capital, Tripoli. And as I mentioned, there has also been heavy fighting in Az-Zawiya, which is just 50 kilometers west of the capital. Forces loyal to Gaddafi and anti-government protesters clashed in that town with heavy bloodshed. Lawrence Lee wraps up all the day's events.
The latest town to experience heavy fighting isn't very far from Tripoli, and that perhaps explains why protesters from Az-Zawiya have told Al Jazeera that the army came to the town and opened fire on them with heavy artillery, their hunting rifles no match. Witnesses said at least 100 were killed, and they expected the army to return after dark.
We asked them to stop all their fires, but they didn't reply. The shooting was direct to the people. They shot the people in the head and in the chest. Direct, so they were trying to kill the people, not terrifying them.
If that's one version of events, the other came from Gaddafi himself. He turned up by telephone on Libyan television with a message to Az-Zawiya. He said the town had been infiltrated by al-Qaeda, bin Laden, drugs and madness.
The demands come from bin Laden. You, Az-Zawiya people, are substituting the popular and Jamahiriya system with bin Laden. Bin Laden cells have been operating here for months. His operatives are provoking and brainwashing your children, inciting them to launch attacks. The enemy perpetrating the killings of our children, operating from mosques or elsewhere. Bin Laden and his operatives are providing your children with hallucination pills. Those are the true perpetrators. Arrest them and bring them to court.
The Gaddafis are certainly not short of opinions on what's happening in their country. While his father was blaming al-Qaeda and drugs for the revolts, Saif al-Islam Gaddafi once again accusing the outside media of invention and lies.
We have to understand that the conspiracy against us is not coming from Libyans. It is coming from our Arab brothers. They have used their media to spread lies and deception. Tomorrow, all media is coming and they will film everything. There is also an investigation committee, which includes foreigners. You'll